Colin, you think US and Canada are outliers. Australia is even further behind. The affirmation model is accepted here uncritically by so many in the medical profession, and they're not even having the review and discussion that we're seeing elsewhere. Meanwhile, we've got the American College of Paediatricians opposing surgery for youth. Tell me about this, because we keep hearing about 15-year-old, 16-year-old girls having double mastectomies, boys who go down the path of surgery and then have terrible regrets.
Well, frankly, it's just become such a political issue in the U.S., Canada, and Australia. Whereas these other countries, it's just not nearly, they're not nearly as politically polarized, and so they're actually able to have sort of adult conversations about, the evidence for the benefits of these treatments, and even more just empirical conversations about, the fact that there's only two sexes, male and female. You can't actually change your sex. So this idea that you're changing your sex to match your gender identity, well, that's completely false if you can't actually change your sex. So these are purely cosmetic. This is all stuff that the American College of Pediatricians thankfully highlighted in this article, because other organizations like the American Academy of Pediatrics, they've just doubled down on their position to immediately transition kids, this whole gender-affirming care, despite the lack of evidence and all of the known risks.
Well, the American Psychiatric Association, they've released their gender-affirming psychiatric care textbook. And my gosh, some of the claims and conclusions in this are just, well, I guess it shouldn't be so astonishing when you look at around 90% of the authors identify as transgender, non-binary, or what they call gender expansive. They say that sex binary is not only harmful, but it's a mythical invention of European colonial influences. What's your response to that?
As a biologist, it's completely insane. Something else they defined sex. Well, they specifically said that sex was not something you can apply to bodies, but only individual traits. And so this is all part of their ideology, where if you can actually just modify traits, if you can give, boys breast implants and, remove a girl's breast or something, that you're actually changing their sex. So it really matters from a biological perspective, a reality-based perspective, if you can actually change sex, and you cannot.
Well, what's the reaction been to this gender-affirming psychiatric care textbook? Will it actually be a textbook that's going to be widely used, or is it something that the professionals look at and mock? What standing does it have?
Absolutely, it's going to be used. This is the document put out of the American Psychological Association or Psychiatric Association. So this is going to be a sort of a go-to textbook for anyone who's interested in delivering gender-affirming psychiatric care to their patients. And so we should be totally alarmed when we see books like this that are just riddled with complete activist jargon and are completely separated from reality. So bringing things back to reality is how we sort of end this entire thing. And this book is just an example of them going even further and further outside of the realm of reality, frankly.
Wow. Having read some of the extracts from this textbook, that is frightening, that if it's going to be widely applied. Has the field of psychiatry, the field of medicine, become corrupted by politics and mad ideological dogma?
I think it's been more corrupted by a pervasive sense of fear for speaking out against this, because when you talk to the people behind the scenes, they have no problem saying that they think this stuff is just as crazy as we do. But the thing is, they risk having their licenses removed. They risk being ostracized. No one's sending them patients anymore. And so really, it just needs to be shown a big spotlight on this issue to give people protection and the courage to speak up about it. Because once they do, this is when the whole sort of charade just begins to crumble, and that'll be the end of gender-affirming care, hopefully.
Hopefully. Colin Wright, thank you so much for your time this evening.
Oh, thanks for having me.